My last video was about angling clubs in peril. It's had lots of hits, probably 3 times more than I usually get, tons and tons of comments on YouTube and also on Facebook, lots of fantastic suggestions, and I've talked to a few people about it as well. So I'm going to try and quickly summarize some of the suggestions, and I hope anyone who picked up on the first one, who's trying to get their club members and committee members to listen before their clubs disappear down the plug hole, can look at these ideas and maybe take them forward. I said last week that it's not uncommon for half of clubs memberships to be senior citizens over the age of 65, 66. If you're a bloke who's aged 66, 67, whatever, which is, I fit into that category, your life expectancy is about another maybe 15 years or so. Your fishing life expectancy might not be that long, because towards the end of your life you might be too decrepit, too housebound or whatever, unable to drive, that you can no longer fish safely. You can't get out on the bank, you find it too tiring, ill health is stopping you going, you might have just lost the urge anyway. Angling clubs that have got half their membership in that age group, the writing's on the wall. That change over the years from 40 and 50 years ago, when most anglers in clubs were fairly young, in their 20s and 30s, plenty of youngsters, and just a few older anglers, maybe less than 10%. That's what's left of those same anglers still fishing today. Investment in youth is important. Now, it's true that lots of younger anglers, and younger doesn't mean teenagers necessarily, but people in their 20s and 30s, just want to either go to day ticket waters to fish for carp, but some want to learn the traditional skills on rivers. Fantastically satisfying type of fishing, but much more challenging, and it's that challenge that brings the satisfaction. Or more natural waters than a commercial. There's nothing wrong with commercials. I enjoy fishing them. I fished one yesterday with a good friend of mine, and he hadn't been able to get out fishing for a few weeks, months even, and we were pulling out carp, sort of 3, 4, 5 pound, without any great problems. We're only fishing with maggots, simple float fishing. It was very easy. We had a whole pond to ourselves, but we got a bend in the rod. We were sheltered from quite a keen east wind. We had skylarks singing away, watched a buzzard being mobbed by the crows. So there's something there for everyone. One of my local clubs, Dorchester Club, have really invested in their junior section, and I'm going to wish them every success. They've got their own section on their club website. They've got half a dozen coaches who are properly qualified. They're DBS checked, enhanced checks, and that is the ideal. They're not a massive club. They haven't got a massive amount of money. They've got their own waters. They've got access to the River Stour and the Froome. But I suspect most of the fishing is taking place on their still waters, which they've done well in obtaining more still waters, and more power to their elbow, really. But to see a proper section like that of people who are proper coaches, bringing on their young anglers, who there aren't as many as they'd like, I'm sure. Fishing for youngsters, they're sort of not allowed out on their own anymore, whereas as other people have remarked, that 50 odd years ago, people like me, we just disappeared down the river twice a day for a few hours, fishing away, got muddy, fell in, had to watch out for other kids or whatever, but that was it. That's what we did, and we caught fish, and we learnt the hard way. We didn't catch very much, say yesterday, catching carp like there was no tomorrow. The first carp I ever caught was about 2 inches long when I was about 18. So didn't have much exposure to carp in those days, whereas now you can catch carp from an early age. So that's the first point, is to invest in your juniors. And that means effort, means qualifications. It may mean trying to scrounge unused gear from your members. I think we've all got stuff that we don't use anymore that's not really worth selling, but would be perfect for a youngster. And that's the first bit. I mentioned that they've got a junior section on their website. They've got a website, that's a start. There are still clubs out there with no websites. It's 2024. Getting a website going, it's not that hard. If you do it properly. Sort out your maps, please. Some clubs, people have said, oh, I've gone onto the map section. It's all right if you know, or it tells you you're looking out. Someone said about looking for a bollard on a trunk road. Well, that's not very good. There's a thing called What 3 Words, an app on your smartphone. You can pinpoint a place on that for access. You can pinpoint your boundaries, as well as drawing good maps. I did some maps a few years ago using Google Earth, and you can zoom in and out with that. I've got a very simple version of Photoshop called Photoshop Elements, but there's things like free ones like GIMP, and you can draw a line with the boundaries, show the paths, show the parking. You can type on there. It's not difficult to do. 40 years ago, I was doing pen and ink drawings for maps. That's a complete nightmare, to be honest with you. But nowadays, it's easy to draw good maps. And talking about, especially on rivers, yesterday, like I say, I was fishing on a commercial complex at Todburn Manor, well known in Dorset, with, I don't even know how many ponds they've got now. They've got 6 match ones, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 other ones at least, all full of fish. Parking generally pretty close to your swim. Car parks as well. A tackle shop. At times they've had food available. They're working on, there's development going on there at the moment. Not quite sure what that's about, but they will know that. I'm sure that in a few weeks' time that'll be finished. But anglers going onto the river, and people have mentioned this on the Thames, and I can vouch for that, but on the Stour as well. You find where you're meant to go. You find there's a tiny pull-in, no proper parking. You need to sort out parking, secure if possible, so that you need to open a padlock, weld the padlock to a chain so no one can walk off with it. Invest in a decent padlock, not one that someone can break with a couple of spanners. So you need parking. Think about stiles. If your members are 60 plus, clambering over a stile with a load of gear is not that easy. You need to cooperate with a farmer, maybe to get a locked gate so people can open the gate and get through. Keep out people you don't want on there. Access is important. A good website is important. One person who got in touch with me is to do with something called Clubmate. Clubmate is some software that you can hook into your own website that enables you to take money, sort out transactions with your members, including paying subscriptions, keeping track of who's paid and when they're due, things like exchange tickets, day tickets. There's versions available for commercial fisheries to, again, with booking. Clubmate is easy to find on the internet, and I'm sure I've only going to skim over it. I'm not going to say whether it's good or bad. I've used it with a couple of my local clubs. It's helping me get exchange books that in the past, say I wanted to fish at a Dorchester water somewhere, I'd have to get, that was up near the other side of Blandford, have to go to Dorchester to a tackle shop to buy the ticket and then drive up, fish for the day, then take it back before you know it, it's added an hour and a half, a lot of driving just to get this booked for the day. This does it all online. You've got it on your smartphone. You're booked. There's a record of who had the ticket for that day. There's a limit to the availability in that case of maybe 4 books or whatever. Perfect. There's a cost to it. There's a monthly charge, fees for it to pay for it. But by making your club more accessible, you're more likely to keep and retain members. One thing someone else mentioned was a welcome pack. Too often people join a club, they get a permit book, a card maybe with their photo on it. That's it. There's no, all right, there might be some information on a website, but how about a welcome pack that says what you're about, and what sort of activities you get, maybe showing what involvement someone could have in, like I say, the junior coaching, if it's appropriate, or work parties in keeping the waters maintained. My days of doing maintenance are over. I've got a heart condition. I can do the light stuff, but I'm not heaving anvils, as we say to the doctor, But they do need people to do that work. Otherwise, the swims get overgrown wherever they are, even apart from the fairly new commercials, but lots of natural still waters, the trees grow in, and on the river, same thing again. I think that summed up most of it. There are definitely clubs out there in peril. There are plenty more that aren't. They're doing well. They've got healthy membership. I was staggered to hear of what the story was up on the Trent below Nottingham, possibly above as well, where the barbel fishing is so good that clubs, I think Ashfield is a club that seems to have taken over the old Nottingham Federation water. You can still fish the Trent on day tickets, but gaining membership of various clubs, like Nottingham Piscatorials, there was Collingham, all sorts of things. And these clubs are far more expensive than they used to be. And they have waiting lists, long waiting lists, which shows, and sometimes quite big joining fees as well. So tremendous demand for very good fishing. Wish I could, parts of the Stour, we seem to be just losing miles and miles of it to neglect and not very good fishing, which is a shame, because I want to continue fishing the river, and I think a few others do as well. I'm going to leave it at that. No doubt there'll be some more comments this week round. Until next time, it's goodbye for now.